I have to introduce myself.
So it's live, but because it's just turned on, there will be no one here. But very shortly, some people will arrive, hopefully, and then we'll do an introduction.
Do I have to be entertaining?
Yes, it's entertaining. Oh, there's no one there yet. What if no one turns up?
I don't know. Get a guitar out. Do something with the guinea pigs. Do a little show.
Ah, it's 2 people. There you go.
Hello.
Hello. This is Paul Muller.
Yep, that's me, Paul.
That's him. He's very entertaining. He's looking forward to being entertaining.
Don't want to be here.
You love it.
I don't even been like
He's been practicing all day.
Yeah.
Paul is an old sculptor.
Oldish, yeah, older than I like.
Tell us about yourself, Paul.
Yeah, I was a figure painter at Games Workshop. So got on as a trainee at Games Workshop for a couple of years. Got the boots, that sucked, but I got a chair and, they gave me a sculpting lamp and a few tools and stuff. So
kind of them.
And I got a job at Harley Quinn, doing a bit of Doctor Who stuff, Babylon 5. Then I worked for Wizards of the Coast. They did a bit of chainmail miniatures, the kind of fantasy standard stuff. Then Privateer, their early stuff. I can hear my voice wobbling. That's not good. I don't like speaking in public, but
you're not in public.
And what else?
Bristol's there.
All right, Weird. I did loads of stuff for Weird. Their initial kind of metal ranges.
Lots of people.
Heresy, Otherworld. Ghouls, lots of those. Lots of undead, I'm pretty good at monsters. That's my thing. Monsters and goblins, but not as good as Kev Adams, obviously. I'm not good at sculpting female figures. I'll leave that to Kev White. He's
did some good ghouls for us.
Done female ghouls, and I can do witches and stuff like that, but I can't do
very gribbly.
I can't do attractive looking female forms. I just do monstrous she demons.
Just to check, is the video and audio working, especially with Mumbly Paul? Oh, so Paul looks too young to have worked at Harlequin.
Oh yeah, I was there with Pete Brown. Daniel Pacey was a decent sculptor back in those days. Nick Ayre, he was sort of doing the accounts and stuff like that. I think at that point. It was a grubby building in Bulwell. I think we used to have to get an elevator upstairs. In some of the back rooms, there was bird shit and stuff. It was pretty grotty. They were a good bunch of people, though. Dean Edwards, Vaughan Edwards used to run that. I think they've got a company. They call it OS Orbis or something, EO Orbis or something, but they're still selling figures. And an John Olsen, I think. They were all sound. And I got to work with Tony Ackland as well. It was really cool. He's a really nice guy. Very cool Games Workshop illustrator, famous for his chaos stuff, Yeah, I liked him. He was like a naughty Santa Claus, He had a bit of a beard on, kind of white hair kind of thing going, like an evil Santa. Very intelligent too, He's a good chess player.
You're quite good at monologuing. You said you weren't going to.
I sit practicing.
Once you've got you going.
I sit practicing all day on my desk, I don't have to speak really. This is all a bit of a stretch for me, it's not on the necessary list of skills for a sculptor.
There's 15 people watching now.
Oh shit, man.
Yeah. So quick overview. We've got Paul Muller, who is a sculptor from everywhere.
Droning on
in a very interesting manner.
On a monotone.
And said that he wouldn't be talking more than a few words, but is now monologuing.
If you need a bit of a rest, just continue listening on. It's been about 20 seconds, 30 seconds, you'll be off.
There's me. If you're watching this on my channel, you probably know me. But maybe you're here for Paul and don't know who I am. I run Bad Squiddo Games and have hired Paul at some point for some lady ghouls, which I can show you later because they're there. We'll just see what people have said as they come in.
I'll work for anyone, Work for anyone.
So what are you working on at the moment in terms of your own stuff?
My own stuff. I'm doing this little range of my own. It's more kind of whimsical fantasy stuff, and it's just they're kind of cute. It's just stuff that appeals to me. So it's just your standard dwarves, weird goblin mutants and stuff. I'm gonna have some little vegetable people. I've got like an idea for undead stuff, but I've got to expand it to that. But I've got a list of maybe 10 sets of 5 little sort of gangs, and I'll sort of work my way through that. I've got the 2 initial ones done, but I'll do the little kind of vegetable people next to thing. I've got this little witch, and she converts people into little vegetable people, and they have to
anthro veg.
Yeah, and they have to grow these little special magic beans for her, and they eat those, and so that's how it goes.
Do you have any vegetables in mind?
Marrows, they've got a fascinating texture, yeah. Printed some out. Figured some out already. I'm way ahead of the curve. I'm kind of a bit concerned about this because I don't want to steal anybody to steal
Oh
my,
yeah, don't go and tell them too much.
my
You know
ideas
what
for
they're
marrow
like.
people, but they won't. Yours won't look the same as mine, so it's fine. You can borrow that.
They'll
have
all be
that for
doing
free.
marrow people. That'll be a thing now. I'll just stick on draw.
I felt like Pokemon. I'm going to call them Marrowmen, the Marrowmen, and they're going to be like, Fraggle Rock.
Yes.
They're going to be like the little doozers. They're going to be the little guardians. When the little goblin people go to sleep in the daytime, they've got to protect them. The little mushroom kind of cucumber people. No, the
the
the marrow people. Yeah, they're like the little guardians. And there's going to be a big giant one as well. So like a big swamp thing type of creature. You know what I mean? And,
are you doing a game, or are you just going to do a set of miniatures?
So
you fleshed out their background quite a lot.
I feel that I've been writing like background. It's good fun. When you do figures, you need to know what type, what a figure is. Is it a good or baddie, or what's the environment is? But I sort of wanted to do some of my own stuff for ages, and I didn't get any ideas. But I did just this little bunch of kind of goblin kind of mutants, and then I thought, oh, they need a pet, so I did this little moon pug, and then there's going to be like a witch. And then the little dwarfs are it's like a dwarf and his kind of poacher buddies, and they go drinking at the pub, and then go off and have adventures and all that kind of stuff. So doing all that kind of stuff, coming up with environments, that's a little bit different to what I normally do. So I enjoy that. I'm sure I'm kind of rubbish at it, and I like writing the little bits of text and stuff, just little bits of backstory. But I mean, everybody does that doing role playing games, and when you do your narrative,
moves it's not just a figure.
Yeah, when you do your kind of narrative, kind of war games and stuff, it's only what the average gamer does. But you don't have to do that as a sculptor.
So
they just sit there,
flesh them out a bit, figure out who they are.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Marrow people.
Yeah, I went too far with that. It's supposed to be, but I'm not showing any pictures or anything. Their marrow people will be different to mine, won't they?
You've claimed it now.
Oh shit, marrow me. I'll be getting done by Nintendo for that anyway, But it's good when stuff sort of sounds familiar when it's got like a resonance to it or something. Yeah.
I've put a link to Midblight Miniatures if you want to check it out and know what we're talking about.
I'm just about to get some of those cast up in a couple of weeks. I've got 10 initial figures. It's 2 gangs, and I've got more ideas for stuff. So we'll see how it goes. It'll be good for me. It's interesting for me to just go and get some figures cast up, because I don't do that. I just send them off, and somebody else deals with all that difficult stuff.
Process.
Yeah, I do the easy bit. Just playing with Play-Doh, pushing it around, having a laugh and
making mistakes.
Yeah, I get money for it. Not too much to be fair, but. Getting by, it's enough to keep me in pot noodles and soup and stuff, midget Jones. Are they asleep yet?
No, there's 17 people.
17. Jeez.
What have we got? There we are. I've seen the midlight greens. They look ace. They also look complicated to cast. Note: I have no idea what I'm talking about.
No, there's 2 characters. There's a big witch. The 2, fairly complicated ones, and there's a dwarf as well. But they're fairly chunky kind of multi-part. You won't have to do any kind of complicated kind of drilling. And there's some optional bits on them. They've got accessories that go around the waist that you could choose not to go on. But I think that the flying goblin kind of creatures, they should work as single-piece figures. And most of the dwarfs, apart from a little backpack on the back, one of them's got a little kind of worm. He's got like a fishing rod. That'll be like a separate piece. Yeah, always touch and go. But in that case, I think it's better to separate it before I take it to the mold maker. But most of them won't be too bad.
I think it's like the planes on them as well. So some of yours are quite dynamic. They're still not going off in every single direction. So there's still not that many pieces.
They're not crazy. It's sort of like what was that Boris guy that you're on about?
Yeah.
He does super dynamic stuff, but mine's a bit less dynamic than that. I mean, I can do dynamic, but mine look a bit more traditional, I think, more what you'd expect for kind of 80s, 90s, but maybe kind of a bit souped up.
Yeah.
Well,
like old Hammery, but new.
Yeah, well, I really rated the old kind of Rackham figures, so my stuff is like a mix of, hopefully, I would like them to be like a mix of old Games Workshop and Rackham, but,
I think they look pretty neat.
Yeah. Am I waffling?
No, it's good. There's 20 people now. They're still there.
It's my rosy cheeks
still there.
reeling them in. Has anybody asked if I'm a real ghoul?
Are you a real ghoul?
I'm afraid not.
That's sad.
Go to prison for that kind of thing.
Go to prison? We'll find some questions on here then. Soon as any questions, pop them on the sides and we'll read them out.
Keep it work related. Because you've got a really boring personal life. You don't want to hear that. You definitely go to sleep.
How have you not aged in 20 years? Is one from Ross Whitehorn.
Do a bit of exercise, you know, obviously because I'm indoors all day, I'm not getting toasted by the sun, so maybe that's it. My mum's sort of got good genetics and stuff, so there's a little bit of that, you know. Maybe he's just joking, and I'm, you know, does it make me sound vain if that's like, oh yeah, I do look good looking, yeah, or whatever. Nobody even asked me that, did they? That's when I was young looking. Oh shit.
That's just making questions.
Oh yeah, good looking and young looking. Well,
Shane Hoyle said Ick Lord, and I dread to know what that is. Is it some
maybe
really nasty reference?
It's some ritual or something that we did at lunchtimes, you know, there was some kind of grot mags and stuff back in the day, but you know, it was before the internet, so
Remember to keep it bad squiddo friendly.
yeah.
To some extent. I did.
That's like a nasty ladybird book. Grot mag,
yeah.
you know, but no, nothing too bad. Yeah. But we had a good laugh, you know. I think Shane just used to work a couple of offices down from me, overlooking the car park in the studio a bit. Yeah, it was. I liked him.
Wonder if he's here. Maybe. So Troy says, "Is there a dream project you've not yet had a chance to approach, or maybe you have and you're just not allowed to talk about it yet?"
Nah, like a dream project to just be getting to do like a range of my own. I think I remember reading something about John Blanche and he wanted to do his own mythos. And you know, Blanche and Jez and that, they all have done, you know, for Warhammer, they've sort of built that world, and Rick Priestley and all that kind of thing. Yeah, it's too late for me to do anything like that, but I just want to like have a little thing of my own, you know, and some figures, some little story, and you know, a little environment for them to live in. I like a model railway kind of set, you know, up in the attic that I could just go and sort of, you know,
hang out with.
And put them in as I make them, you know. And I'll be old by then in a little, like George R.R. Martin in his little dungarees and a hat, and I'll go up and sort of push them about, and I might even have a train that goes around.
You should
have a train.
Yeah.
Some weird kind of fantasy train, you know what I mean? Nothing.
Not a standard.
Maybe it'd be like a cart kind of thing, you know, with the stuff on the back. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
So you're hoping that your Midblight does well, so that you do more of them? Yeah,
hopefully. I mean, if it doesn't, you know, I'll still sort of fiddle about with that as a kind of project for fun for myself. But yeah, I don't know. Dream stuff, but I don't know. Yeah, you'd be into like films and stuff for that. I don't know. For work, for miniatures and stuff.
I guess say if any license person would come to you. So say you could do any license, what would it be?
I thought Gormenghast I liked, you know what I mean? I like that. I like Weirdstone and Brisingamen, you know, there was some kind of wizards and stuff. It was sort of like a children's book from some guy up in Cheshire, but I loved it when I was a kid, and there was goblins and wizards, you know, kids and stuff, yeah. That you know, there's no kind of big kind of sci-fi type of thing.
Nothing you're like, I'd love to sculpt that.
No, because again, it's other people's stuff, you know. I think I kind of reached the point maybe like a year or two ago when I realised, you know, I was watching a lot of films and I was reading loads of books and I was watching lots of box sets and stuff, and I was thinking, you know, I should be making more stuff myself. You know, I was creative when I was a kid and I sort of slipped out of that. I'm still making figures and stuff, you know, there's a degree of creativity, but I wanted to do something that
design as well, as well as just making the 2D 3D,
sort of just something that pushed my own imagination a bit more, because like I say, probably a lot of gamers and role players use their imagination more than I do as a sculptor, you know what I mean? You can just sort of, sounds terrible, but you can just treat it as a job where you get the thing in, you know, and you know, get your head down, sort of whip it up and sort of send it off, and you know, there's still some pleasure in sort of turning out a good figure, and you know, the kind of end user sort of, you know, it gives them a bit of a break and a breather, and it's a respite from kind of everyday life. You know, you sit down and paint a figure or play a game for a few hours, and that's good. You know, if you know, it's a weird sounding kind of job, but you know, it does have there's some good end purpose to it, you know. It's
a bit when I was doing dice bags, so people would send basically the image of what they wanted over, so that would be the same in that sort of churn, and then occasionally someone would say, I want a bag for wood elves, and then I'd get to do the design for it, which I always preferred, although it took ages. But yeah, making the whole thing from scratch, even with just a bit of an idea rather than just do this thing. I get that.
But I kind of get a mix of stuff. A lot of people, you know, they've got an idea of a figure. Back in the day when I was working for Privateer or kind of weird and stuff, they'd send fully fleshed out concepts, so you're just sort of working as a 3D printer more or less yourself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to do your own stuff, but you need like a rest as well. So if you do enough original stuff, eventually it's just nice to have a breather and just do the boring stuff or you know, less interesting stuff.
Paid stuff.
Yeah, you know, the council tax, that kind of rubbish. You know, just the rent and that, you know what I mean?
I like that you say that, just in case the council tax guys are watching. I pay my council tax.
I do.
Yeah.
Got 300 quid the other week. They get, well, when I moved into this new place, you know, they sort of left it hanging for a couple of months, and then I was a bit surprised by that in January because it was tax as well, and that sucks. Yeah, so rough. It was a rough time.
Be good if everyone supported Midblight when it launched.
Oh yeah, but
Shuffle here.
they don't play games. They just straight to prison if you don't play those ones, isn't it? So you got to prioritise, haven't you?
Dave says, "What is your favourite mini from the Harlequin era?"
Probably not one of my own. I think Bob Naismith did a lot of cool kind of Doctor Who. The actual doctors, and some of those were really good likenesses. What did I do there that was good? They did some. They had the Lord of the Rings range for a bit, and I did a good goblin or two for that. I think. What else? They had a license for Babylon 5 as well. They were doing little box sets for that. Most of those were pretty. It was a decent TV series, but most of the characters were just men in suits. But there were some cool little things off that. There was like an old wizard with a ball and stuff. Harlequin stuff. Harlequin fantasy.
Someone else said, "Wait, Paul did Harlequin stuff. Love the Harlequin stuff."
Yeah, well, you're going back. Well, I think, like I say, this guy Mark Sims was doing a lot of it as well, the Lord of the Rings stuff at that point. And Danny Pacey was doing stuff as well. But that is going back so long for me. That's sort of nearly 20 years. I would have been 27, 28 when that was sort of going on. I can remember what I was doing, and I can remember the office. I can picture the people there and nipping up to the McDonald's for nice coffee.
Nice coffee at McDonald's.
Well, it was nicer than the stuff in the office. You should have seen that kettle. Oh, you should have seen the toilet.
Oh, yeah.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare. You just nip up to McDonald's rather than use the facilities. Yeah. But figures there, yeah. There was some decent Lord of the Rings one. Des Hanley did some kind of concept design for that, and there was one cool goblin with like two, a sword up and a sword down. That was pretty good. I think.
Do you have a favourite miniature that you've made?
A lot. Some of the weird stuff was good. Some of the weird stuff, those big complicated kind of figures, demanding, but sometimes, the simpler ones are good. I really do. That Heresy Ghoul King's probably one of my favourite things.
Spade.
Yeah.
And the rat and the piles.
Yeah, I think I did that. That's like I was about 32, 33, so that's like 10 years ago. But I think Andy had said, "Do you want to do some ghouls?" So I just did that one, and he liked it. I think he did like a modified version himself. But
you did the balls out one.
Yeah.
And then there was a loincloth version.
One. Yeah.
Which I should have if I'm collecting ghouls. I've only got the balls out one.
I don't know whether you did a gravestone for it or something as
well.
But,
I've got a gravestone.
I think that figure's got character, and I've seen a lot of people do good kind of paint jobs on it. So I like that one because I've seen a lot of people, using it. Same with all those ghouls actually. They were, other ones. You kind of forget, you know what I mean? You sort of do them and they go off the desk and you're on to the next one, and you've had enough of them after 3 days or like a week, or depending how long it took,
You saw some pretty cool ghouls earlier.
Oh, some painted ones, yeah.
I don't know if the camera will pick them up.
But... Yeah, the bad Squidoo ones. These are really nicely painted, yeah.
So Paul did some ghouls for us. So it was cool him coming because it meant that we could show him. It's not going to focus at all. Blanking your face out.
I'm probably loving it. I'm loving it.
It's not focusing, but you can see the rough, blurry, the ghoul mother figures. But it meant that he got to see the painted ones, painted by Andrew Taylor.
Yeah, really nice,
which was pretty cool, actually.
Really brought out all the detail. Yeah. Respect. Shout out.
So yes, you sculpted dead babies on my things.
Sorry about that.
Why did you do it?
Right, let's get this clarified. Andy didn't ask for me to do a little dead baby. Well, I've done dead baby ghoul chicks, she demons, but I'd done one for Andy like years ago, and it was a ghoul female like holding a little baby in front, which was sort of suggestion like she just abducted it or something. But I was like, what am I going to do? I've got to do something different. So I did it. Oh, they're not totally grotesque. One of them's got a little bit of its back sort of hanging out. But, not too bad, depends how you paint them, you know what I mean? You can always pretend it's like stuffed little dolls and stuff, and it's just like a children's toy or something. If you want a PC kind of version. But
so
anyway.
we need to do some conversions with other dead stuff.
Yeah.
Like puppies.
Yeah, puppies. Well, for you it could be guinea pigs.
They're kind of like tearing a potato in half, though.
Yeah.
They're not.
Chicken nuggets. Could be tearing a chicken nugget or a chicken leg, right? I don't know what would
they always eat chicken legs.
What would the people out in miniature buying land like to see them?
I don't know.
Tearing to pieces,
What's
or not? What's acceptable? Yeah.
Yeah. What's acceptable? What should the ghoul mothers be eating next that aren't babies?
Anyway, yeah, that was
Put that in
that was
there.
all my doing. You know,
It was
Annie had
definitely
requested
Paul's.
ghoul chicks, and I just did those, and she had them off me. So
I specifically said no dead babies, and he did it anyway. Are the old Harlequin Lord of the Ring models at Scotty or Grendel now?
well, Harley Quinn sort of sold and resold a few times, so they went to Black Tree. I think this company called EO Orbis or something. I think they're doing some Kickstarters lately. I think they've got the rights. I think they've got the rights to it. They're on Facebook and stuff. But EO Orbis, ORBIS, which is a weird name for a miniatures company, but I don't know why
it rolls off the tongue.
why they've opted for that. I don't know whether they've got the full ranges, but they've still got a lot of the old. Kev Adams did a load of orcs and goblins and stuff for them. I think they've actually got a Kickstarter with some old Kev Adams stuff at the minute, and yeah, it might be on that. It might be on that. I'm not sure.
Sweet.
That's going back 20 years now, almost 20 years. 15, 20 years.
Suggestions for things the ghouls can be ripping apart.
Right. Yeah.
Horse legs, dead elves.
Yeah, that's all right.
Pigs,
pigs,
spiders, heads, and ice cream.
Little ice cream cone. Yeah, that could work well. You know.
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Down at the seaside, you know what I mean? They're getting a bit of sun. Speedos, you know, we could cover them up a bit, put them in bikinis, you know, whatever. We can do. All right, they've got to be.
They reject clothes, my girls.
All right, sorry. Yeah. They've got to be starkers.
They're not bothered by that sort of thing. It'd be weirder if they did have clothes on.
Yeah.
Then that's, I don't know, it's that thing, isn't it? Like, was it with cartoons, where if they have all their clothes on, it's okay, and if they don't have clothes on, it's okay. But if they have just a shirt,
boxer shorts,
then it's not okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay.
I don't know. It works though. So
we're into weird territory.
They're just nude creatures because they're creatures. But if they had clothes on, even if it was like rags of a bikini, then it's somehow.
Well, you get into kind of trickiness with that. I mean, what you can put on the interweb and all that kind of stuff. But if you do kind of fully nude figures, they often get them censored out and all that. But it makes sense for a ghoul to be like, you know, naked. They're supposed to be like kind of beast. It's like a werewolf transformed, isn't it? So
with like those sort of rags and stuff like that.
They do get up and kind of iron the t-shirts and sort of head out to the graveyard and you know,
do some nice like trims to make sure it's all jaggedy looking. Because if they pick up like a loincloth and it's just square,
I mean, probably want like little handbags and satchels to put the body parts and stuff in. You know, squish little babies. Maybe they could have bags. You know, designer. Yeah. Get down the Arndale Centre or whatever.
What we got? Oh no, we've got more stuff from a burger van. You know the one. Nando's shield maiden heads. I'm still going for puppies.
Yeah, I mean, decapitated heads works. You know, I suppose they're going to have hold of other kind of rotted bodies and stuff, aren't they? So yeah, I mean, I kind of did that with the heresy one. So they've got bits of legs and stuff. So
that was my confusion a bit when there was a bit of a backlash to those ghouls. Collector.
I think
I've obviously painted up millions of them, and it's quite common to have a ghoul like with a human leg or.
That's all thanks to me. That's thanks to me.
Yeah,
I pushed the boundaries. It's the Overton window, you know. It didn't work out for yours, but the next time I do some decapitated little babies, nobody will even care. Nobody will bat an eyelid.
It's true. Yeah, they've all like eaten people, but the eating babies is frowned upon a little bit.
Don't know why.
Yeah. So you sculpted those old ghouls?
Oh, the Citadel ones. Yeah, I did.
I
did a few for
Citadel. It was more for the people there. That would be rubbish if I didn't know that.
Oh, the Games Workshop Citadel ones. Yeah, I was working as a trainee at Workshop, and that was an idea to sort of speed up. So I think there were $3 for that, and then I did a bunch of them. But they're kind of chunky, kind of cartoony. They were all right. They were sort of characterful, you know. And I did that black coach thing. I detailed up Norman Swales' black coach back then. I did a few bits for the Dark Elder, a couple of these kind of homunculus characters.
What did you do on the black coach? What, like the curtainy bits and the swirlies?
Yeah, the curtain, all the design stuff on the side, and there was actually like a little coffin with a really naff vampire on the inside of it. And I don't think anybody that I'd done it for, you know, that would have been that. Well, the people in charge, they thought it was shit, you know. So,
I liked him.
It's kind of rubbish.
That's super cool. That what we were saying earlier about the black coach being my first proper mini.
Yeah, and I think a guy called Norman Swales did the kind of, you know, the form of it, you know. And, I just did the kind of surface stuff. Yeah,
the horses and stuff were already part of the range, weren't they?
They were. I think they were plastic. They were plastics, and I think I did headdresses for them. And there was a little rider as well, which is like a little race. Again, we're going back. That's a good 20 odd years or something.
I like that the new one's really similar. They've just made it more fancy and up to date.
Oh, it looks really
without
good.
changing
Looks,
the main core of it.
Oh, it
which
looks
is really
amazing.
cool.
It's all kind of floating in it.
Yeah,
it's good.
but it's still really recognisable to Black Coach.
Makes you get sick. It's very frustrating. Looking at the new Games Workshop stuff, it's pretty high quality to be fair, and tricky to replicate. In kind of metal and stuff. Yeah,
different tech.
You'll have to get on that computer shit. Yeah, one of these days. You know what I mean?
One day.
I do have. I've got a. What is it? What's the program? I've got a ZBrush core to have a. ZBrush core to have a fiddle about with.
Does Paul collect minis, or is that too much like taking work home?
I get if I'm collecting stuff, I go on eBay and I get the old kind of it's old Kev Adams goblins and stuff. It's proper old hammer, I do I appreciate the kind of skill, and there's lots of really cool miniatures out at the minute. And sometimes I buy good stuff as kind of reference material, more like So if I'm doing something, say if I was doing a chick like a female figure, I'd buy one of Kev White's because he's good at that. I'm rubbish at it, and but mainly if I'm buying figures, I'll be buying kind of old Machineries of Destruction. Jez's old stuff, what did I get? That Eternal Champion box set. I'm just painting a few of those up. Elric and Melniborn figures and stuff. What else would I get? Yeah, well, like I say, there's tons of good stuff out there, but yeah, my taste is sort of more kind of old hammer. Yeah.
So you do paint them? You don't just keep them in a cupboard? Some of them.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy painting. I've done a few for friends and stuff over the last few years. It was my job. I was a figure painter for about 4 years. That was in Games Workshop's Red period. There would have been Stuart Thomas, Dave Perry, Neil Odson, Mark Jones, back in those days. New kids coming in. But yeah, I really enjoy painting. For me as a sculptor now, if I sit down and paint a figure, that's really relaxing. That's kind of therapeutic for me.
Even though it's still hunched at desk thing.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I found with it. I kind of noticed one time where if I'm sculpting, I'm on like 10 cups of coffee a day, and I do an hour's worth and I have a cup of coffee, and I need the coffee. But if I do figure painting, I sit down and 2 or 3 hours has gone and I've not even reached for the drink, and it's cold, it's absorbing, Yeah, I mean, that's how I got into it. I used to like collecting and painting figures, and sort of sculpting sort of came, I sort of got onto that later, by accident. So.
Someone said, which GW ghouls did you do? I painted some up a couple of weeks ago. I thought they were Gary Morley. So did he do the wave before you? Yeah,
Gary did a pack of 3 before me. They were kind of chunky. I think they had arms up and stuff. Mine were a bit kind of more distorted. Gary's were good, sort of slightly smooth.
They had those sort of really defined muscles, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit sort of almost a bit quite goblin-y, weren't they? Were they the short.
Yeah, the faces were a little bit goblin-y. But yeah, Gary did like a set of a 3 before. They were just generic fantasy ones, yeah. But, you might have Gary's, I don't know.
I need to actually catalogue them. They're not catalogues at all.
It's a weird thing you've got going there. The kind of ghoul kind of fetish.
Ghoul collection.
Ghoul collection, yeah. Well.
Ghoul collection. I don't think I've mentioned it so far.
Oh well, Annie collects ghouls.
Yeah. I've got the largest ghoul collection in the world.
I know, it's a bit weird.
Because I've said it. I don't know, maybe someone else has, but I don't think they do.
Yeah.
It's not quantity. It's one of every type.
Yeah. So you've got them lined up in units and stuff. It's just sort of
Yeah, they're all so like the most of them are painted. I should have brought them out. That would have been good for the ghoul special. But they're painted and they're all based up. And
you can paint yourself white. I'll paint myself a white for the next kind of ghoul kind of special thing.
That's why I've got you here.
Fairly pale.
I've got all the ghouls, so I need That's not beer. But that's why I got you to do my ghouls. So when a girl has all the ghouls, then she has to get more made. So we definitely need more ghouls for the female ghoul collection.
More ghoul, yeah, ghouls.
Because there are not many girl ghouls.
Or child. I've not done you any child ghouls.
No, not yet. The heresy one's good.
Yeah, I did one.
Heart.
Yeah, I did one for. I thought it was a little head. Was it poking its hand in a little head, or it might be a heart?
It might be a bit where I cheated and just put blood on. I'm like, I'll paint it as a heart.
Yeah, I did a little ghoul child for heresy, but that was pretty inoffensive. It was more kind of sweet looking. It was like it was just looking at something, like with its head down, kind of puzzle, frowning. As you do.
I don't have many women in my ghoul collection. I've got some zombies that kind of fit, and I think I've got a couple of the hassle-free nudes that are in quite submissive pose. I don't know, stuff that they can be used, like they sort of shuffle along or.
I did a couple of kind of ghouly figures for Reaper. They call them dregs. They're sort of like, but they're dressed, so they're sort of ghouly zombie-looking
Yeah.
things. And one of them, there's a female one of those that's kind of witchy-looking. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I think that's
I've got those in my.
that one's got a
in my
little
gang.
baby under its. I should be.
You
I'm
don't like sculpting with like babies
I
being.
don't have
stuff?
children, so I
Yeah.
just like to sculpt little children. You know.
Oh, Lewis Collins is here.
Yeah.
That's the chap I was talking about with the John Blanche thing.
Oh yeah, cool. The guy who's just on that Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, those figures are really good. Yeah. There's like a proper kind of night-looking fella swinging a sword across or something.
Yeah,
Awesome, yeah. Really good work,
Big
yeah.
showy face.
Really good.
Oh, that'll make him happy, I think.
Yeah, still want a signature though, does he? He's never heard of me.
Oh.
Jeez, not John Blanche. Jesus. Not fit to lick his boots.
I think if he gets to you, he'll definitely make you sign his.
Yeah, they were
collection.
really
It's an
good figures,
autograph
yeah.
book.
You see, sort of also, you know, I've just got onto Facebook sort of last year, so I'm getting exposed to loads of new sculptors and sculpts and stuff, and yeah, those are really nice little set of figures. Kind of well done, I think. Yeah, very good, very good.
Nice of you.
Makes you sick, you know, but whatever.
Hang on, let's find some more questions. Ask away in the corner. This is Paul Muller.
Hello.
You may know him as a ghoul.
Very entertaining. I'm not.
You've been rambling on in a good way quite a lot.
I'm good in the pub.
I had to convince him, and he said it was going to be rubbish.
I don't even like my photograph being taken.
Yeah. He's not that pale either. He does seem to come across pale in this.
I look different to people in real life than I do on camera, I think.
There's definitely two yous. Yeah. Oh, Lewis says thanks, Paul. He's probably print screening that for his scrapbook now.
Oh, you're welcome.
What are some of the pitfalls for hobbyists to avoid when trying to get started with sculpting?
It's good to have good reference material. Just ways to go, you know, books, anatomy books. Have good figures in front of you. One of the best ways is to just start by, I don't know, take a figure, chop its head off, and try sculpting a new head yourself. You know, it's difficult when you begin just judging the amount of putty and stuff that you need. But yeah, if you take a figure, I don't know, just sculpting hair on, even just doing small things. You know, take a bowl,
conversions.
yeah,
and stuff.
take a figure and add a hair and a beard and that kind of thing. Then, you know, bits of clothing. You know, try different textures and stuff. You know, I think one of the first things that I did like a conversion of an old Necromunda thing, and that, you know, I used the legs, but I did the top half myself. That was some Bulgorg thing. I got a mention, I think, at a Golden Demon or something. You know, in the open category or something, but whatever. If somebody else want it, but yeah. So start small, I suppose. You know what I mean? You know,
you mean not try and go for the whole thing immediately? Just
no, just
hone those
little bits.
handling the putty and
sculpting sort of faces or sculpting hands and little bits and little details and stuff. You've got to familiarise yourself with the types of putty and stuff. If that's new to you, you know, it's going to be like weird working with green stuff. They've all got, you know, your standard epoxy putties versus kind of polymer clays. They've all got different kind of qualities to them when you're working with them, and people use like a bigger mix of them. But green stuff's a good way to go to begin with. You know, that's what all the old sculptors used to use.
Do you have a particular favourite, or is it different materials for different tasks?
I like this Procreate at the minute, which is like a grey. It comes out like resin. That's a bit tougher than green stuff. Green stuff, it's nice and soft to work with, but it's kind of gooey, a bit toffee-like. That's how Gary Moore used to describe it. But green stuff's pretty rubbish for swords and stuff like that. So Procreate's better than that for weapons or kind of sharp deal and stuff. But then again, you know, it's what works for sort of different people. Obviously, Kev Adams, I think he just uses green stuff and his stuff looks really good. But and then there's Magic Sculpt as well, which is like that's a bit like Milliput. 2-part again, but that comes out solid. But sometimes I'll mix up. I like mixing I'll have a blob of Procreate mixed up and a blob of Magic Sculpt and mix those two together, and then you get something smoother, which is almost like Milliput. That's really good, actually. Enough, yeah.
Do you need to cook that, or do you just?
No, that's an epoxy putty. So you can smooth that because it's a bit more liquid, like Milliput. You can smooth that with a brush and stuff. It's very easy to work for kind of capes and cloaks and stuff. But I like. Well, they've all got different qualities, but I like Procreate just because I can see the detail a bit better, just because the colour is grey.
Yeah, grey helps.
But I still end up, you know, I've always got green stuff on my desk and I use it for quite a bit of stuff. But it's something you've got to be careful when you've got like a ton of putties on your desk, because you can mix the wrong ones together. And I've done it once or twice. Well, these days, if I'm using Procreate, I'll put a bit of Fimo. You can put like a fifth Fimo into standard epoxy, you know, your green stuff and stuff, and that just makes it a bit easier to work. But I think I've sometimes mixed in
Would
that.
You cook that?
No.
Really?
It dries out firm enough. Yeah.
Oh, just because there's only a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. If you put a dab in it, just makes it move a bit easier. But yeah, is that some of the pitfalls? Did I answer that a little bit or not?
It was good. Just general starting
pitfalls.
tips, really.
And again,
if any major thing where it's, I guess, easy to start, and then now you know to not do that.
Probably like brushes and kind of all that kind of stuff. Probably don't go overboard buying tons of tools and stuff. Most of the time, I just use a thing called a Wax 5, which is a dental tool. It's got a curved end and a soft end, and I use that and a few needles, and that's most of what you need. You need pliers and like a pin vise and stuff.
On your teeth as well afterwards? So.
Sometimes clean between my teeth. Yeah. I do actually. I've got needle ones for that as well. They're good as well. It's kind of dental, Right?
Multi-use.
Yeah, there you go.
I guess that's good advice to not go out and just buy loads of stuff.
And probably again, I'm going on about having loads of putties and all the different qualities and stuff. But you probably as well to get one thing like green stuff, buy a pack of that and just get comfortable with it, and then maybe try some of the other ones as well.
See what you like about that, and then try. Yeah.
And there is, of course, there's the kind of polymer clays like Fimo that you got to put in the oven as well. But they've got different kind of qualities to them too. All the Rackham sculptors used to use that back in the day, the early 90s, early 2000s. I'll lose track. Still popular. I like that for bigger figures and stuff, or really complicated figures, because with obviously with epoxy putties like green stuff, it dries out in about 2 hours. But if you have polymer clay, you can just go back to it, forever and ever. But you can just keep redoing the same bit, and then you end up just taking ages and ages. And
overworking, do you think?
Yeah.
You just don't know where to leave it.
Yeah. Pitfalls. Yeah, that's it.
Dave, who was asking lots of questions, has got to put the kids to bed. So bye, Dave. Thanks for the
bye.
questions. I hope someone else asks questions.
Yeah, thanks.
Lewis wants to know dwarf guy you sculpted a few minutes ago. When's he going to be available? Lewis wasn't here when we were talking about Midblight.
All right, my kind of stuff. So I'm just I've had those figures done for ages, but I've only just got on a Facebook last year, and I don't know anything about. Annie's going to help me with a bit of kind of social media stuff. I'm just rubbish at it. But I've had the figures. I'm just doing a bit of background and stuff. I've got those 10. I've got 10 initial figures and that dwarf that you're talking about. But I'm going to go and get that cast up. Pete Brown, the mold maker, he's a renowned caster down in Nottingham. He's supposed to be doing it on. I'm getting the first castings on the 11th of April, so I should have some metals. It's only a few weeks away.
After Salute.
After Salute, yeah. Well, I'm getting them done after Salute because he's busy. He's jam-packed before Salute, but I should have a few kind of master castings, enough to sort of put on my little Facebook page and maybe look at painting some up, and then sort of see where I go from there. But yeah, it shouldn't be too long.
You could see if Lewis was interested in painting up the dwarf guy.
Oh yeah. Oh, I like that. Yeah. I say
we could do a cheeky trade.
Because I've been like a recluse sculptor. I've lost touch with all the good painters and that. I've sort of got back in touch with Stuart Thomas and some of my old kind of sculptor buddies from Games Workshop, which has been really cool. But yeah, I'm not kind of hooked up into the I'm just re-emerged from a little cocoon or whatever.
You got your wings tucked back there.
Yeah.
Do you play any games?
I used to love Space Hulk. That's my favourite game. Do skirmish games. Kind of like Mordheim, that kind of thing. I love the look of kind of big armies, but I could never paint them because it takes so long over each individual figure. It's always the same with sculpting. I like doing little batches of probably skirmish size kind of units, and anything more than that is it just puts me off. I never get it done.
Fan of doing like armies from dollies. Or
no,
is that different?
Well, I sort of regard that as like a military kind of sculptor thing. Yeah. For me, that would be kind of boring.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Just putting different arms and heads and stuff.
And it might be good kind of work-wise, but I think they did a little bit of that at Harlequin as well, where you just sort of doing little dips and dabs. And again, these days, people's expectations have shifted. So whereas, I don't know, in the middle hammer bit, you'd have a unit and it might be the same figure times 20,
Yeah, everybody's cool.
Yeah, everybody wants, every figure's got to be a little bit different these days. So I'm not sure that works for sort of a lot of fantasy and stuff,
Yeah, definitely.
It would be good. It'd be great, just to sort of stick a different head on each kind of thing.
I think people want more variety in those sort of conversions now. Because the older stuff, like some of those ghouls where it's like he's holding a skull, he's holding a sword, and they've just definitely.
That's what it was.
Chopped, put something else, new figure, and I think you can get away with that then. But
I think it's kind of hard these days. It's that Overton Winder thing I was talking about, where there's so many really good figures out these days, and you're looking at the top level, top end stuff, the Games Workshop stuff and all that, and so if you release sort of like a boring kind of dolly figure, everyone just thinks that looks a bit flat and dull, it's especially sort of fantasy and stuff. I mean, my figures are pretty kind of, those ones that I've done are fairly static, most of them, but I can do jumping around stuff. But, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you also got lots of swirliness going on. I don't know how to say
a little
swirly.
bit. Yeah. Oh, lots of
So
little
yeah,
details and stuff.
they're all very unique. So yeah, I can see why you don't want to just keep churning a load of them out.
But you know, it works for people. You know, it works for some people.
Yeah. So it's just not. It's okay to have a preference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not your thing. But, yeah.
Not my bag. It's I'd associate that with more like kind of military war games kind of sculptors and stuff. I really haven't done any of that. So. I like a bit of World War II, you know, to reading material. I like your ancient stuff, like Greeks and all the kind of Spartans and all that kind of stuff.
Would you ever be tempted to do any
some of that
type stuff?
Some of that, because that's almost kind of like fantasy sort
stuff
of.
That looks cool.
Yeah. But probably not like World War II, World War One. It's not my kind of scene. You know, I like to read about it, but I don't like uniforms and stuff itself. A bit, it's not my.
I guess as well, you don't have any much creative control with that sort of thing.
No,
there's always some that you can do, but you've still got to be quite rigid and.
Yeah. Oh, I did those conquistador zombies for Antediluvian, didn't I? That's almost kind of that's as close as I get to historical.
They were amazing, though.
Yeah, they were good. They were cool.
And that was only recently. Hey, someone said Annie rocks.
That's good. Yeah.
You don't rock.
Not me.
You didn't get a cool rock thing.
I expected to come off second best, to be fair.
You've got all the questions though, so no one's asking me about Salute or any of the cool ATS stuff or anything like that.
Nobody's asked me to go off screen. What you're sharing this screen with that Muppet for?
Yeah. I actually tilted the camera ages ago on my full G.
I'm not even on TV.
It's all just a prank.
Sorry, it's rubbish anyway.
Noel Edmonds is going to come out. Let me scroll up. That one's
dreadful.
Slower.
I'm just waffling. I'm not asking you about
good,
what you're doing.
Isn't it? Yeah, what am I doing? Ask me stuff.
What's Annie doing? Apart from Salute preparations.
Salute.
Yeah. You don't love that stress today, do you?
No, I'm not too stressed at the moment.
You've got all of next week, and that's it till. And the actual thing is it on Friday or Saturday?
Saturday, but we go Friday morning, and Thursday's left for last minute crying. It's actually blocked out for last minute crying or last minute panics and all that stuff. So my goal is always to try and get done by Wednesday.
But you've got like your team of helpers and all that kind of sorted out, right?
I've got a team of people on the day. I've got Mum who's been packing all my blisters. I'll probably get some more last minute help next week. Just remembered I've got the staff training tomorrow as well for the
Sunday
for all the people. Is it Saturday? Oh my god. Monday.
All right, yeah.
On Monday.
This is like
I've only got 3 days.
Yeah, this is like the Pepsi kind of thing, and then I go, and what new product have you got for Salute, Annie? I just improvised that. That was good. That was a bit rubbish, a bit heavy-handed.
Yeah. What new products do I have? I've got ATS.
What's ATS?
Auxiliary Territorial Services.
Sorry. You're gonna be mad with me at TMP.
They're home front ladies basically. So it's like the ladies.
Oh, I've seen them. Yeah, they look cool.
Yeah, so they've got the searchlights with the Sarissa stuff. Well, the Sarissa searchlight. And I'm going to be doing some more.
Those boxes. What about? Are they new or are they?
I started doing box sets.
Yeah,
but I haven't really done. I've put the case in. I've put this insert in the case and gone, that looks good. I bought shelves for them, but they'll be packed next week as well. Right. So, yeah, there's look at that. I'm conscious of this whole side thing going on.
Yeah, I can only do miniatures, but Annie does loads of stuff apart from sculpt. Don't you? Do everything else, don't you?
Sculpt, though, no.
You don't customise it.
No, I've cast a couple times.
Oh,
yeah, just for
fun.
fun.
To come out
as things.
Blobs. It's a start. You got to start somewhere. You shouldn't be too hard on yourself. You know, everybody starts somewhere.
I hadn't seen my guy. I don't know where he is. I'm just looking past Cam.
Who's that? Which guy?
My guy that I sculpted. I don't know where. I think he's over there actually.
Chop your fingers off. There's already too many sculptors.
Oh. I made my guy at the
join the party.
Kev White thing. And I almost finished him. And I really want to finish him so I can cast him and sell him for £1. It's my first sculpt, Wow. A pity £1.
You're doing as well as me now. Jesus Christ.
Yours £2 though.
£2 these days.
We got.
It's nearly 2020.
Hey, I got questions.
I'll just doze off.
Any plans for new Viking sculpts anytime soon, Annie? Yes, possibly a little Kickstarter. It all depends on lots of things, but yes, there's going to be at least a couple more units this year, but probably quite a few. Might go a bit mythological with them.
Do you have like a set number of Kickstarters that you try and do a year, or is it just whatever comes through, whatever?
I'm trying to not saturate, but also I sell way more on a Kickstarter than if I just release things, so it's hard to balance. And to get that money almost straight up when you release the thing, get the cash back, and then you can invest in the next stuff. Whereas sometimes you release things flat and it can take years to get the money back.
And you got to have a website and all that kind of junk. Which
I've got all that junk, but it's trying not to be like, oh, such and such is doing another Kickstarter, but also do loads because you get money from.
Do you do
2 or 3 a year, I think.
Do you do them where you get loads of sort of stretch goals and all that kind of thing? And no, it's fairly.
No, the last one had a few stretch goals, but they were just things like extra stickers and because all the it depends. If some, like the Fraser Raft one, had stuff in there that wasn't sculpted, but I tend to get everything sculpted beforehand, and I like to deliver it quickly. So any extra things that could put them back quite a lot. So say if the sculptor's ill or something like that. I like to be
all the figures that you do on a Kickstarter. You sort of release them later through normal kind of Bad Squiddo as well.
After they've shipped out, then they go in the shop.
Is there like a price adjustment? Are they more afterwards?
You usually get a saving on the Kickstarter, but mostly with the bundles. I kind of stopped with the individual and just had them as this is the price they're going to be, because you've already got to pay Kickstarter a fee, and all the other fees and making stuff. You don't want to undersell yourself on the Kickstarter, especially if you want to put them in the shop afterwards.
This is all interesting to me because I'm interested in Kickstarters. I don't know anything about them, so I could get to interrogate Annie.
But I mean, it's nicer if, well, for me, because some people expect massive discounts and smaller companies can't do it, whereas the big ones with the Chinese manufactured stuff can do it because they've got the leeway. But I was going to say, brain just died.
New releases, we were Salute, we were talking about.
Kickstarter. It was very poignant and interesting. It was, I guess. So rather than just having, if you have this add-on, it's £4 instead of £5, which is what the first one I did was. It's more encouraging people to get the bundles, so it makes it worthwhile to get the big bundles of stuff. Yeah,
I kind of think it makes better sense to at least sell small, I don't know, units or gangs or whatever. I mean, there's an appeal to sort of selling single figures and stuff, just, because someone might only have like 10 quid or 5 quid and whatever, and just want to try one of them, but then the postage is going to make it not viable in it, or maybe in the UK. Or whatever,
it's okay. It's the main cost for having the individuals is the different molds. So then they'll need a mold each, which can, off the top of my head, depending on the person, can be around 80 quid. So the first Coast of Gaia, everyone had their own mold. And I don't know why. So that was expensive. Because they were all going to be sold individually. And then Ghost of Gaia 2, some of them did. And then I decided to put shared molds. But now they're all getting repackaged and re-released. Because I had lots of different casters. It's now sort of all consolidated.
You've got to check what the people are doing.
What?
You've got to check what the people are doing.
Are you bored of me?
No, there's stuff going down.
Yeah, no, that's what we do when we run out of stuff to chat. Because I keep seeing myself in it. I'm like, oh god.
I like watching stuff on YouTube, but I'm always watching this from the other side. It's really weird, I've been on camera.
Yeah, it's weird, especially on the side. And I can't see. Paul, what is your favourite horrible monster sculpt?
I've done lots for Otherworld, more kind of D&D sort of related. Well, I don't think of them as horrible. I just think they're doing what they're doing. They just they got forced into certain circumstances. They ended up being ghouls and that. Maybe that that Ghoul King's probably my favourite one. I've done lots of big stuff.
Yeah, the heresy one.
I've done lots of big stuff. I'm trying to think. Funny goblins. Can't think of any big stuff. I did for Fractured Dimensions. I did quite a bit of D&D stuff. There were these two little critters I really like. They're some of my favourites. Well, it's a big monster he wants, isn't it? Not a little monster.
You can talk about. I'm sure.
Can I talk about? Do you mind if I talk about my little monsters? There were these two little things. They were called peribores, and I think it's some weird little D&D demon. But they're almost like two little ghouls. They're like two little clowns with extended heads, and they've got just a little tuft of hair on top. But yeah, they're really cool. I did two of them, a pair of them, and there's one, like that, and the other one's got his hand extended, and they're like a little Tweedledum and Tweedledee. So they're like a little pair, going out to do some nasty stuff. Peribore, they were called. Peribore Fractured Dimensions.
I bet someone out there. No way, those.
Oh, there's a guy. It's just sort of come back. But there's a blog. There's a guy called Finch Miniatures blog, and he's painted up loads of my stuff for that Fractured Dimensions thing as well. But he's got some of those little Perry boards, and it's really nice paint jobs as well. So Finch Mini's blog, yeah, good.
I'm gonna check them out afterwards.
Yeah. He's just returned, but with some stuff that's not mine, so that's a bit upsetting.
Christian Voice, hello.
Hey.
He said, do you prefer sculpting from concept art or imagination? We kind of covered that a bit earlier, but he wasn't there, so you should.
Yeah, with the concept art, when it comes in, you just, you're working as like a physical 3D printer or whatever. There's another word for it, but I've forgotten it. Sometimes that's good, because you can just shut off, you've got the thing in front of you. I mean, if it can be tricky if it's really exacting, because if a customer wants it, and it's got to be exact, that's like a skill in itself. Often sort of doing stuff from scratch is enjoyable, but you're having to think a little bit more about it, but like a balance of it, really. So overall, if you're doing sculpting as an occupation, I like a mix of the two, you know what I mean? But I mean, I'm enjoying that, doing my own junk at the minute, so. I
guess it depends on the client as well. So if there's someone that you're very used to working with and you've worked with a lot, they can give you less detailed briefs because you're kind of on the same sort of wavelength. Whereas others, if it's not too in depth, then you could be on totally different pages and you can sculpt the thing, and they went, I didn't actually imagine it.
Well, somebody like Privateer or Weird, they'll send you like a really nice flashy kind of piece of concept art with a front and a back, and a top view and all sorts. They have really good artists and stuff. So and then some people will just have a suggestion. This is the sort of thing I want. And then some people will just send me like a page, of ideas. This looks like this. I like this pose. Often that one, the Fractured Dimensions figures I did, that worked. That was back in 2014. But he'd sort of send me Brett Zalesnik, he was called, but he would send me like a page, and there'd be a pose, a few different ideas for costumes and stuff, and a few kind of notes and stuff. So I'd sort of pull something together from that. That was pretty enjoyable. That was good. They all turned out pretty well, that range. Yeah, there was some good stuff there. You won't have seen that any of that, will you?
Probably not.
2014, I think. Yeah, but it was quite big. That was a pretty big kind of Kickstarter, and I think a guy called Mortal Arrow is sort of got a bit of that range now. But I did all kinds of big Dungeons and Dragons demons, but they were a slightly different twist on, so they weren't straight rip-offs off the Monster Manual. Some of those are good, especially them little Perry boards. Some of my favourite figures.
I need to see these.
They're up there. They're just like mini ghouls or something to me.
I've got them here, actually. I've got them. I've got my phone here, but then I'd have to get you to talk about something so I could look at them. Lewis is fanboying. He says, from my own fanboy curiosity, what's your favourite middle hammer sculpt?
Games Workshop. I'm trying to think. I like that. Kev Adams. It was late. It was just he'd done that kind of. There's a big kind of goblin character in a chariot. I think that was pretty cool. I like all the. I suppose the original kind of Jez Goodwin Abaddon and all that. That would have been Middle Hammer. Kind of like the 40k stuff back then. There was a cool kind of Khan the Betrayer and stuff. Jez was doing all the characters. Brian Nelson, of course, he was doing loads of fantastic figures. His stuff was sort of spectacular. He kind of sort of upped the game a bit at Games Workshop. Any of his stuff, he did some really cool, orcs, goblins, and that. He did all those kind of. He just did like a range of sort of 40k kind of characters, psychers and stuff like that. Were difficult to pull like specific, but I really rated him. Jez's good stuff was really good, of course, at that point as well. Is that about right?
You like lots of
specifics,
Kerry, hello. Says, damn, those Midblight minis are superb. They deserve a game. We'll be keeping my eyes open for any retail releases.
Well, I think I've not got like designs on doing a game, but maybe someone else, could like incorporate them into like a skirmish game or something.
There's lots of games out there now that you could use them for, like with Frostgrave, Dragon Rampant, and all that you could put them into existing games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of writing backgrounds for all those kind of little characters that I'm doing, but anybody who buys them, you can ignore that and just slot them into whatever you're doing, whatever you want kind of thing. But they're sort of suited to skirmish games. I mean, I suppose I had in mind the kind of weird gangs and factions and stuff. So the initial, I wrote down I've got like a list of about 10, but there's still then the little Maramin,
What's Maramin?
Margarita's Goblin Chiropteras. Chiropteras like a bat, Chiropteras. Species or whatever.
You've got that.
I bought that. I've done that bunch, and I've got a Dolph's Dwarvo poaching party or something, and then I've got the little Maramin, and I've got a list of sort of different groups of about 5 that I'm going to do, and loads of the little kind of beasties and monsters and stuff. But Yeah, they turned out well, but I put a lot of effort into those, especially the big kind of dwarf character, because I redid a few bits. You know, his head was not quite right, so I redid his head. Then I didn't like the fur on the hat, so I redid the hat. Then the ferret, you know, I had the ferret done on top of his hat, and I liked it. And then something was bugging me about his face, so I redid it, and then I couldn't get it right, and then I redid it about 5 times. So I really I went to town on those.
You didn't destroy it. You don't like lose your shit at any point.
Sometimes, sometimes you can just chop bits of the sculpt off, but sometimes you've got to sort of scrape them away. But yeah, I put a lot into that, but that was on my own, you know, and I was just, I can afford to do that on something. That was like a hobby for me. That was doing that one, but yeah, I'm glad people like it. Yeah, somebody put a really nice kind of thing on the. Might have been on the Old Hammer sculpting group or something like that. I put a few kind of pictures of that up, and someone said, "Oh, yeah, I really like it." I kind of copied it and put a bit there to cheer me up, you know, if I'm having a bad day sculpting or something. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the guy, but
it's nice when they appreciate your stuff.
Yeah. I said it reminded him when he first saw like an old middle hammer thing. It gave him that kind of feeling. So yeah, that was I like that.
That's cool. You've got quite a distinct style, I think.
Yeah, it would be like a mix of the old GW boys.
No, I think it's quite not clear, but it's fairly easy to identify your stuff. It's not a bad thing. But the Midblight's definitely all you, like, and I think it shows that you've really like what's the word? Unleashed. Secreted. Not secreted. You sort of let loose on stuff without other people.
Yeah, that was sort of part of the thing with that. I just wanted to do some that were, of course I got influences, you know, and like the dwarf, you know, it's got a baseball bat looking thing because I like Negan, and it's got big boots because of Noddy Holder out of Slade or whatever, you know, you know the Christmas song, but you know, so there's
mixed with Negan.
Yeah, so I've got influences, but it's all filtered through my head, and hopefully they look, you know, they've just come out. You know, nobody made me do it. I just did it.
Yeah,
nobody made me do it.
You said that quite a few times. Like, but there is a puppet master.
There's a puppet master. Oh yeah. I like writing all that rubbish. It's, you know, it's good fun doing all that kind of stuff. I'm up to like paragraphs of sort of stories and stuff like that. But I find that really good fun. Even just little things, you know, just to sort of give an idea. That always worked well for Games Workshop. Back on the kind of Machineries of Destruction, you know, you'd have a little write up about these characters and what they were doing, and I kind of like that sort of aspect of like boxes of figures where you've got like a nice paint job of the figure. You have a nice little bit of artwork to bring them to life, and then, you know, you've got a little bit of flavor text and the stats and stuff. You know, that's just a nice little product.
Yeah, it's not just a metal figure in a bag.
Yeah.
What have we missed here?
Thanks for the question.
What? No more questions? This is madness. Go back to the other questions. Do you have a favourite ghoul? Asks young Annie Norman.
It's got to be that Ghoul King, I think.
We've covered him. It's of all the ghouls.
The one that was bending forward, I did one for Heresy that was bending forward, rummage about in a corpse. You know, that was good.
Oh, yeah.
With an arm back, you know. And then I did one that looked slightly werewolfy, kind of bent forward. That was a bit American Werewolf, I think. Yeah, that was a good one.
Because like with the Ghoul King, there was like a flattened ghoul. I think it was for that.
Oh yeah, there's a little corpse. Yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
Because I put that one with the one on all fours.
Yeah. I still like that little flattened one. You know.
Yeah, little squish ghoul. Yeah, so on my little ghoul diorama, he's sort of crouching on it. And you're gonna eat it.
It looked like a little bog person, one of those bog mummies that you get in, you know, Pete Bog Man, whatever they call it.
Who did I don't know if you know, who did the Heresy goblins?
Andy.
Were they Andy?
Yeah, those cool little stylized goblins. Yeah.
Did he do the flat ghoul? Did you do the flat ghoul, or was that Andy?
I did that one. Yeah.
I've got in my head. I was just thinking there's a flat goblin as well, but I might have dreamt it.
Yeah, those goblins of Andy's.
They're really nice.
They look a bit like what was that Tom Cruise movie? He did like a fantasy one with a big demon.
Yes.
You know, the big red demon. It was Tim Curry as the demon. Darkness. Yes. I can't remember the name of the. But it was directed by Ridley Scott. I can't remember.
I'm going to shout it on there.
I think there was a goblin in that.
I haven't seen it. I know that. I know I started watching it and I fell asleep.
I think there was a goblin in that.
I've still not seen it.
Yeah, I think there was a goblin in that, and Andy's goblins remind me of that sort of style. Yeah, kind of very pointy, more witchy. You know,
they're kind of dark. They were good. I remember nearly getting them, but I ended up cheaping out and getting old night goblins from Chaos Dwarves because they worked as the hobgoblins because they're just a bit scarier.
Yeah, you forget sort of, you know, when I was working as a figure painter and that, but yeah, Brian Nelson's stuff was really good for the old kind of Middle Hammer kind of figures. Loads of awesome stuff back then.
someone, Lars said there's pigs chirping in the background.
There are
They're
pigs
over
chirping,
there. I kind of don't have anything. Yeah, okay, I'll show you some pigs. I think I can just swing it around and not show my messy house. There's some pigs, look.
Big action. Yeah.
There's a Moogle and Karen out. Don't know where Gregor is.
It's just a standard front room.
Yeah.
Totally normal.
So that is yay. Oh.
Can you get mini guinea pigs? Can you get dwarf guinea pigs?
No, just malnourished ones.
So I've only got a small front
Get that
room.
back
You know,
now.
if you could squeeze a few into like a foot by a foot kind of thing, I could squeeze a few in.
They're just like mice.
Right.
You could they don't need to be in that size enormous monstrosity.
Yeah, but they've got
it's
nice.
awesome, isn't it?
They've got nice fluffy coats. Can I get a mouse that's got a coat like that?
You get hairy hamsters.
Uh-uh.
Oh, I like having pigs here. We should have sat there. We should have sat in the
In
pig
the
pen.
in the big bed.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do for the next one.
Just a standard Saturday night.
One for Annie. Yes. Question for me. I'm twisting like this. Don't want to like ignore you.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I don't mind.
Don't like my side profile either, so I'm kind of. What about 18th century born to the regiment type women and kids? Yes, camp follower type things are on my list. It's very long, but at some point I've got the list is really long and in a vague order, and then something will like spark my interest, and then it leaps up to the point.
Would
So
that be
whether
kind of
it's like
carts and stuff as well, or just the people? Or
there's a lot of companies already doing the carts and things, so it could be like with the Sarissa Searchlight, just teaming up to add them as bundles and stuff like that. But yeah, camp followers for like pretty much all eras. There's just not that many.
Do you do casualties and stuff like that? Oh, you got some.
I've got one. I'm a bit weird about it, especially because of like loyalty. The more modern stuff, the more modern the stuff is. I find I guess it's easier to connect to. So stuff like Viking casualties, it's almost like they're fantasy because they're so far away. But there's a British field medic from the Queen's, and she's attending to a male casualty. And in the brief, I made sure that he was going to be okay. I don't like the like blown up casualty things. I just think you can make the mark. I don't think everything from war has to be in the game. Otherwise, you just end up with a really dark game, and it's a game.
It's a game.
So stuff like that. I think they're called little dioramas. I'm getting into. So I've got a picnic set for the World War II, and I've got Time for Beer, which is the fatigue shield maiden, just like sat having a beer. My gay shield maidens. And they've all actually done quite well, but it's the cost of the dioramas where people only kind of need one, whereas if I get troops done, it's sort of like guaranteed sales and stuff like the camp. Mind you, camp followers would be quite a good one, but there's just so much stuff, and we're obviously all rich.
You must be. You got loads of. You got all guinea pigs. You got more than me. You got a garden.
I thought you were saying a sign of riches is how many guinea pigs you have.
That's what they loaded. If you can afford little guinea pigs, you got a hamster as well. Jeez.
Yeah, I know. I'm luxury.
I've got a few spiders. That's all I've got. I've pet spiders in the corner of the office.
Oh, hang on. Legend. Oh, Legend! I thought they were calling you a legend.
Oh, the film,
Legend's
that's
the
right.
Film.
Yeah.
Yes, it's Legend.
It was really Scott.
There's totally not a delay with the.
Tim Curry was awesome in that as the big demon.
I need to see it. I remember that's the one with the unicorn.
That's right. Yeah.
I got about not very far in. I've got a habit of falling asleep during films, and that was one. And if I fall asleep during a film, I can't watch it for years again because it enrages me that I have to watch the same bit again.
Just all those bits with all those bits with that big darkness demon were just awesome. Tim Curry, the clown out of it, and Dr. Frankenfurter out of Rocky Horror. Yeah, he was ace, and he could sing a bit as well. But he didn't sing as Satan, which is what he was in that Legend. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I've forgotten it.
Are you a musical person?
yeah, but I don't sing.
Don't sing, no. You just play the trombone, the sad trombone.
doing my best here. You know,
What?
I'm doing my best.
You are. You're doing
I'm
good.
trying to be upbeat. Got little rosy cheeks, nice and warm.
You are. Yeah.
Nice and warm.
Again, we've got that little heater there. Got the
Sips half a
beer.
beer.
Oh, half a beer.
You look a bit pale. That's a concern.
Yeah, I think if you get near it, it's not too bad.
Yeah, but that might put them off.
Go right up to it. I dare you.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. What the fuck?
That's the downside to having the screen there. I get distracted by my own face.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know why you're coming across so pale. But I'm not that pale.
Because I'm a vampire. I'm an immortal vampire.
Oh, that'd be weird if you didn't have a.
It's like, yeah, I don't know.
If you weren't on camera,
shit,
that's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, it's not picking you up.
Yeah. A proper vampire, not a Twilight vampire though.
No,
I'm a proper one, like a Nosferatu one.
Yeah, definitely. That was a ghoulish style of vampire.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm not a sparkly vampire.
No. We haven't got any more questions. Oh, there's one. Are you planning to attend shows soon with your stuff, Paul?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to do it. I've been sculpting like a long while now, 20 years or something, and in seclusion, more or less. Richard Scott of Otherworld, you know, he asked me down to the Birmingham one. What is it called?
UK Game Expo.
Yeah, once or twice. That was really good fun. I enjoyed that, but I'd like to get out and, you know, interact with real people a little bit more. And I don't know, you know, I might be able to like catch like a little bit of a standoff somebody. If I get up to 20 or 30 figures on those kind of mid-blight things, you know, I could probably just squidge on a little foot, like a small area, and maybe squeeze onto somebody else's stand. Or 4A Miniatures, Andy Coleman or something like that, you know, just somebody, or Richard possibly, you know, depends how generous they're feeling. But yeah, I'd like to get out to some kind of shows and stuff.
It'd be good to team up with those sort of smaller, newer companies.
Yeah.
I think they did a thing at Salute a few years ago that was like upcoming stuff. I can't remember what it was called, and if it was Salute or if it was the people. But they just, instead of having to have 6 foot each, it was like they booked X amount of space and then just split it.
Yeah.
And because they were all together, it seemed garnered more interest than just having amongst all the massive stands, just, you know, a guy in a cabinet getting lost. So they were all together. It was like artisan corner or something. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think because I've been working sort of on my own for so long, I'd lost touch with a lot of, you know, and I don't really interact with too many kind of industry people, but that's a negative thing, really, you know. But I diddle through the computer and, you know, send an email backwards and forwards. But no, I don't see people in real world. But going to shows would be good, you know, for that. You know, whilst they still go, they're still popular, aren't they? Shows,
kind of, yeah, depends. There's a lot of shows. I think some are getting better, others are dying. Yeah. You should come to your Game Expo and come to the Bad Squiddo meetup.
Yeah, like that. Yeah,
you get free beer.
I just, you know, because the times I've been at that one in Birmingham, I just enjoyed having a wander about, looking what everybody else is doing. I had a bit of a chat with Richard. I got to see all the kind of nice painted figures, you know, that I've done. You know,
the Otherworld stand, so it looks really nice.
Yeah, and just have a look at well. There's all kinds of weird, interesting stuff, you know. So yeah, it's good, probably inspirational. Yeah,
you should definitely do a Game Expo.
Yeah. But I'm kind of like reserved when I'm out and about, so I'm not like going up to people and, you know, hello, I'm Paul Muller kind of thing. Yeah.
Not like Tim Prowl. I put a sticker on him at Partisan that says, "Hi, I'm Tim Prowl, don't you know?" And he kept it on and he went rounds all day with it.
That's confidence.
Yeah, you wouldn't do that.
Like my geezer in the bathroom.
Okay.
He doesn't get creative blocks.
You should tell them for some context. They're not Nick Cave hanging in the bathroom.
Yeah, there's a picture of Nick Cave in Ali's bathroom. And what's the quote? It's something about, I don't get creative blocks because I don't have that level of sustained lack of confidence or something like that. Yeah,
it's just this mean quote
it's pretty cool,
from an interview. Cool. Creative block is a sustained lack of confidence.
That's right.
I've never had that. You kind of like think it's going along inspirational quote and it's just like, nah, you all suck.
Yeah, I wish I could say the same, you know. I definitely have a bit of creative block, you know.
Do you have any unusual methods for getting through a creative block?
Sculpt little rabbits, you know, where their genitals should be, generally. You know, that works.
That's quite common.
I know, it's strange. If you do get a creative block, you can be at your desk and just nothing happens. Generally, you know, if you're at your desk, you're moving forwards, you know, as long as you can force yourself to sort of. But, you know, sometimes, you know, you sort of gaze around, it's anything to distract you or whatever. But yeah, the other day I did a little rabbit on a big ogre's crotch and then covered it over with a kind of fur nappy and I felt a lot better. I was all right after that.
If that's what works. John Haynes says there were some questions on Twitter when you announced it. There were, and I can't find it on my phone. So if anyone wants to paste the questions onto here, that'd be ace. I've got tagged in something that's about showing pets, and all my notifications are full of animals, so I've been struggling to find it. Lars, so you still with us? You're right there.
Don't look like I'm
There's
dropping
a
off.
sigh there.
No, it's good. It's good. It's probably good for me. This is, it's just close to like what it'd be like going to a show and having to like speak. And
I
stuff,
know,
you know
but
what
they're
I mean?
not here, so it's pretty good.
I did. When I was at Games Workshop, we did a few kind of gold demons and stuff, and I was either a figure painter or I did sit on the sculpting stand once or twice, and that was sort of chatting to kind of hobbyists. I don't know when did we get the word hobbyist? And collectors or I don't know, enthusiasts or whatever. Hobbyist was a new one for me. Yeah, enthusiasts. That's a good one. But yeah, it's always nice sort of chatting with people who share the same interests as you, whether it's kind of like bands and stuff or whatever. I like going to gigs for that reason because you got a lot of people in there who
thing in common.
Yeah. So however different you look, you've got this shared thing going on. Whatever. Yeah.
When are you on Meeples again, Annie? I don't know. I emailed them and then I forgot to reply. They're changing I haven't listened to it for a while. They said they changed the format and it was to do with games, and I don't play games, so I don't know if I've got anything relevant. I obviously do. I've just realised that someone that's not seen me talk about that before.
Is Meeples you and a few people?
No, it's a podcast I really like. I used to keep harassing them to go on quite a lot because it's a really good podcast. But they're talking about. They get guests on now, but to talk about specific games and the games they've been playing. And I haven't played a game since I played Nick at Dragon Rampant over a year ago. So I kind of feel like I was pretending if I was talking about games at the moment.
I like MTG as well. Are you allowed to do that if you're a miniatures enthusiast?
What's that?
Magic the Gathering. I like that. Well, I do like that. I'm sorry, it's been a while since I played it, but I used to love that. Yeah.
It's the Magic community that's
all right.
puts me off.
Right, I think I've got to say that before. Someone was asking, what games I like to play. Space Up was my main one. When I like that. I still like that. I think I had cool figures and stuff as well. But MTG. I like it. Bit chess. It's good.
Sweet.
Rubbish, of course.
Lewis Collins, working from home drives me mad sometimes, but having shows to look forward to makes it worth it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was when I started doing shows as well.
Yeah, it'd be nice to meet like Lewis and have a look at his figures and stuff. I could pick up a few hints and tips. He could show me a few new tricks and that, bring me into this modern age.
Oh.
Yeah.
Little hand up.
Yeah, I need someone to do it with the computer stuff, that's for sure.
He's a green stuffer.
Oh, good, traditional.
So yes, there are still green stuffers.
I call them cybermancers, cyber puttymancers or something. Yeah. Dark arts. It's 41st millennium stuff. What they got going on. God knows what they got going on at Games Workshop at the minute. Yeah, Jesus.
What they don't tell us.
You get through a lot of people, that's for sure. What happens to them, I don't know.
Are you ever frustrated by the limitations of what can be sculpted, either technical or financial, as in what people might pay?
Yeah, well, sometimes you'll get kind of companies more or less trying to outdo Games Workshop, and you just can't do it. If you look at Kickstarters, most Kickstarters, there's a lot of dwarfs, halflings, kind of smallish figures that you can fairly chuck through. If you're sculpting at home, you want stuff that you can get through pretty rapidly. If a figure's going to take a couple of weeks or like a month, most of the time it's just not feasible, viable, unless you're working for a big company, maybe like Reaper or something like that.
So would you get frustrated, just shuffling around, that you've not got the facilities to do? So would you like to do?
Would I like to do really big kind of flashy figures?
Yeah. Is it just not your?
It's not my kind of thing. And like you kind of, what is it when you get a nasty lesson? What is it? It's like affirmative, something. But I've forgotten the word anyway. But I've done a few kind of really big jobs, and they all suck. So I'm kind of very wary of that. Sometimes if you've been working for a company for a long time, you feel like you've got to take a hit and sort of help them out if they want one. But generally, as a sculptor, as an occupational sculptor, as a freelance one, for me, that's always bad news, really bad news. But yeah, I'm not.
So there's nothing that you think, I'd love to do this if I had access to plastics or anything like that?
No, not really. I mean, I'd like to do cool scenery and stuff like that. But in terms of like miniatures, I don't get those in my head, super giant kind of flashy ones, But I think Games Workshop are doing that pretty well, I think, at the minute. It'd be hard to compete with that, to be fair.
Lewis said he's sculpting in green stuff in a Middle Hammer style. He was born in the wrong time.
Born in the wrong era. Yeah, I should have been
Aw.
at Games Workshop in the 90s, my friend. Get a time machine. You love it. You love it. I say, welcome to hell.
Question for Lewis: would you be interested in learning digital sculpting? It's not an offer, like, but are you going to stick with green
Is there
stuff?
nothing Annie can't do? You're going to train him up on digital sculpting?
Yeah, I trained you. Remember back in the 90s?
No.
I set up Games Workshop.
Did you? Oh,
Yeah.
That's how you can afford all these little guinea pigs.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. Each one's £1 million.
You got some of that fat share money.
Fat share.
Yeah. You cashed them in.
Yeah.
God, Jesus. Who knew? Who knew?
Exactly.
Who knew? Did you?
My £1 million
Was it you
pigs.
that got me fired?
It might have been.
Oh,
To set you free, to get you working on all the new
Jesus.
other stuff.
That's
When
a
you've
bit
been
of a-
stuck there,
That's a
you
bit of a
know?
blow. That's really took the wind
Right.
out of me. That's took the
Yeah,
wind out of myself.
Not a bombshell.
It was you.
It was me. I got you sacked from Games Workshop
Time machine.
in 1990.
6, 7, 7, 8, maybe 8,
Hmm.
8, 9, 8, 9, 9, 10.
Yeah,
I forget.
I was 8 years old. I got you sacked.
Very entrepreneurial.
It was.
Yeah, and a mean little girl as well.
Yeah.
Got me fired.
Yeah. I was trying to
Oh.
purchase you as a ghoul.
It broke my heart, that
person,
did. You know,
yeah.
I was walking out of there with my little bag of tools and my lamp.
You plant.
I put it all on my desk chair, which, you know, they were kind enough to let me potter out. But yeah, I had to wheel it all out. Yeah, little tear rolling down my cheek. I got a job at Harlequin pretty rapidly after that, and things really picked up.
It wasn't really me that sacked you.
Oh, was it? Oh,
No.
fine. Don't know what I did.
Have you thought of teaching and running courses, etc.?
I could do, you know. Just, I don't know if I could like handle kind of classes. You know, I could probably do it as a one-to-one thing. Show people how to do certain bits of stuff. Also, you know, maybe like a sort of YouTubey stuff. You know, I could just sit down and, you know, do something and let people, you know, then a bunch of people could watch me how I do it, sort of specifically.
Yeah,
But it's
you get
just,
like a top-down camera.
it'd be like a no. I need a friend or somebody to sort of sit and video with me. I'm not doing like a tripod thing. No, I've got
Why?
somebody. I don't know, because they can zoom around and do different angles and all that. You know. Yeah. Well, but yeah, maybe like YouTube stuff or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
if I could just sort of get a different voice and be interesting and engaging. And,
You're interested and engaging.
uh,
They're loving it.
they can't understand the word I'm saying, can they?
I don't know, because they seem to be.
I get told
That's
off.
a pretty good mic, though.
I get told off for mumbling. I get told off for fumfering, which is what. What's the guy out of? I've forgotten his name. The guy out of Jurassic Park, the Doctor, the cool one, Jeff Goldblum. You call it
Yeah.
a fumfer where you say something, I go afterwards. You know, I do that a lot. You know, really like it. But I think it makes me sound wise.
I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Fun.
If I'm fumfering, I apologise. Or
And
murmuring.
he says hand sculpted models always seem to have the best butt cheeks. Something seems to be lost in digital. You do sculpt some good butt cheeks.
Goblin butt cheek, ghoul butt
My
cheeks.
ghoul butt cheeks good. Definitely that Ghoul King. I wish this would pick up because there's some fine butt cheeks there.
Yeah, I like doing a bit of
Yeah,
sag to
cool.
them as well. You know, a little bit of sag, some texture. You know, little kind of pop marks and stuff. I'm not sure what the reason for that is, you know, because there's a function on sort of ZBrush and you just press it and it balloons out, and that'd be perfect for little round butt cheeks, you know. But you don't even all you have to do is press the button on that, you know. It's not difficult. You know? The rest of it is not that one.
The
Yeah,
butt cheek
It
button
is
with a little
literally
butt
there's a bloom
symbol.
function more or less. I've done it. I've tried it. Yeah, I'm not sure about
Lewis has said, yes, I'm going to start it soon. The moment I'm doing a mix of traditional and digital on the same model. What?
that.
But there's so much charm with traditional that digital can't seem to capture unless it's stylized like GWs. So I guess it's handy to have the skill
Oh yeah.
and to be able to work into.
Yeah.
Although a lot of people do, once they go digital, just seem to throw away green because I don't know, maybe
Well,
it's more
it's
enjoyable.
because it's like Photoshop where you can sort of chop and paste the figure around, shrink it, like, you know. So I don't know. I couldn't say whether it's easier or more difficult. I've seen some people who can do both, and they say that it's harder to sculpt traditionally, so they prefer digital, probably because of that reason, because they can keep making adjustments and stuff.
honing one skill rather than going
Yeah, well,
before.
it's just, you know, it's just
Yeah.
what is the thing on GIMP or whatever, but where you just sort of scale up, scale down. Whereas to do that on a physical sculpture, you know, that's like a pain in the butt. But I do think with miniatures and stuff, you know, it's a tactile hobby, like a paint by numbers, and I don't know. there's got to be some creativity and kind of physicality to it and stuff. And yeah, I don't know, you can take it so far, and stuff just loses its character and kind of charm, you know. But I do think I'm a big fan of all the kind of current Games Workshop stuff, but they've got like a style of kind of figure, and everything's meshes with each other now.
Yeah.
But you don't have like the Perry twins and Gary's figures and, you know, Jez's figures back in the day all had sort of different style. But,
That's like what I was saying about your stuff being quite recognizable, whereas it's impossible. I'd actually say it's impossible now to know who sculpted what in GW, because it's all
whereas, you know,
you can't go, I know who's made that one.
But a Games Workshop fan from nowadays will probably look at that middle hammer, old hammer and stuff and say, "What? These are all different sizes. You know, these heads are different. Why is this hand this big and this hand this big? Yeah, this is rubbish."
Scoop.
But you know, I love it all kind of warm.
It's because of the nostalgia of that being around. Johan says hello from Antwerp. Hi, Johan. Hello. Paul Cubbin, who's one of my painters. If the film Jaws were played... God, here we go. If the film Jaws was played backwards, what would be more entertaining? A giant shark vomiting body parts into people, or a psychotic sheriff forcing people to run backwards into the sea?
I like the people running back into the sea where the sharks are waiting for them. Yeah.
I like that video with the firefighters throwing all the people into the fire. That was quite good.
Yeah, that's just mean, that is, yeah. Well. I never saw that Meg one, that new Jason Statham film.
No, I don't think it was widely received.
Are you going to go and watch that Hellboy film, the new one?
Maybe. Too poor to go to the cinema.
You've got them little $1 million guinea pigs.
Yeah, I wait till it's eventually on Netflix.
Can you sell one of them?
Well, I could, because they're £1 million.
Yeah.
But I feel like I should get one out before we...
I'll have a few of those little things.
A few pigs?
Yeah.
You're not having any of them. You're not leaving with any pigs. I'll do a pocket check.
No.
I'll hear the squeak. I'll rustle a bag, and if you squeak, then I'm going to let you talk to them while I get a pig, and you're going to have to find something to say.
You have to give me a question or something. I can't just
do
a
freestyle.
I don't know.
What could you talk about while I go and get a pig?
I don't know. Beer, films, you know, my boring life, you know. Sculpture. You know, back in the day, Dean Edwards, who used to run Harley Quinn, he used to say you're the rock stars of the gaming industry, but I don't really feel like a rock star anymore. No.
But you did then.
I did back in the day, yeah.
I'm stuck.
He's leaving me now, and he's just stuck with me. Oh, what a nightmare! What a nightmare! I might even put my face up to the screen. That'll really ruin your day. Ruins mine when I look in the mirror these days. Doing my teeth's a nightmare. Oh, somebody help me! Jesus Christ! This is cruel. This is cruel. Don't go to the bathroom. For God's sake.
We're going to see Mick Cave.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
What about your experience meeting guinea pigs today?
Yeah, they're really cool, cute. You know, they're kind of aggressively hungry. Like, I bought a little salad box from sort of Tesco Express or something, and they like the little carrot sticks the best. But Annie's the expert on guinea pigs. There's a little white one with pink eyes.
Get that one.
There's a chunky one that makes all the noise, and there's another one that hides a bit, you know, and is a bit less gregarious. Here we go.
A little hairy pig.
What am I doing? What am I doing? I've just lost them all. They've gone from like...
They've gone.
Yeah, there was thousands, and now there's only like...
It's alright, they'll come back now they see a pig.
Yeah, and he's back.
Is there any more questions? How do you keep a good workday routine, Paul?
It's tricky. Some of my friends say, "Oh, I could never work from home," and there's been able to work from home, which I can definitely do. But you've got to be really disciplined to actually make enough money, more or less. So it's tricky. You know, I try and I get to my desk for 9 o'clock. I try to, you know, and I work through to like 5 o'clock. Often I do like another couple of hours in the evening. Sometimes working from home, I'll skew it so I get up later, but I work well into the evening, and then try and get a bit of exercise. You know, go down to the gym, go for a run, because it's supposed to be worse or as bad as having cigarettes. You know, having a sedentary lifestyle and never doing any kind of exercise. So I mean, you got to watch for that, you know, because if you just sculpt all day and then jump on your PlayStation, which I've done in the past or whatever, or watch TV, watch box sets and stuff, you know, your body's crumpling down itself more or less. Yeah.
Seizes into a hunched ghoul.
Yeah, you gotta have a bit of a routine. You gotta have a bit of willpower. But like I said, you can do it to a certain extent and sort of get by, but to be comfortable and make a decent amount of money, you've got to be really disciplined. So some people just couldn't work at home at all. I don't think.
No.
You know, it's just sit and watch TV all day or whatever. Like I was really bad. I had a PS4 at one point and
It wasn't happening.
not good. Dark Souls and stuff.
times.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, the video game Dark Souls. I got like
Yeah.
addicted to that, and you know, video games are like stories where you've got to see the next chapter, but then you look down and it's 4 hours. You think, oh, I'll make it up kind of later. But yeah, it's tricky.
I wasn't too bad when I worked from home last year, even having guinea pig distractions. But I like having the split now, so I can.
It's with dried carrot.
Yeah, she loves it. So I could go home and switch off afterwards. So the switching off is quite good. I'm trying to get less and less stuff at the house because it was entirely bad squid.
Who's that guy? Why is he just thinking of working from home? Or does he work from home, or is?
I don't know. We'll find out. Would you ever get an office, or?
I thought about it. I looked into it last year. There was I was living in a little town called Bentham, and up in Lancaster there was something called the Story, which had sort of shared artists kind of studios. But with that was big shared studios. You weren't even allowed to sort of have your own heater because you might affect everyone else's kind of temperatures and stuff. And it sounds appealing, sort of having an office. Maybe in some ways you get more done, but it's just the balance of whether whether it's worth it kind of monetarily. It depends how much you're sort of going to end up paying. It's probably better to have an office if you can afford it, for sure.
I find it good. Like all my bills included, which is amazing. So I kind of go there and ramp the heating up and boil the kettle a million times, and then don't have heating on you. Oh, I've got it on especially for you.
Nice, because you thought I needed warming up.
Yeah, it's trying to get the pail away.
Yeah, I think having some kind of office or something, that's probably the best.
I like that my office is in the same building as Needy Cat Games, so there's people around, even though we mostly just get on with our own stuff. There's sort of someone there for a coffee break or whatever. Or
yeah, I suppose like a shared office, like Annie's got. You've got like industry people.
We've still got separate bits. We've got like a shared kitchen. Whole kitchen table, toilets.
Yeah, with a weird job like sculpting or kind of war games. A lot of the time you're speaking to people who don't understand what you're talking about. So having somebody who understands your little world is probably.
Or when there's a big frustration or rage, so go, I guess what's just happened. It's actually quite good. It saves internet ranting to some extent. This pig has gone all shy.
Are you enjoying the guinea pig, everybody? They're kind of soothing, aren't they?
Yeah,
quiet at the minute.
It was very quiet. Cubbin says, orcs, small and scrawny like Tolkien, tough and wiry with big jaws like Vintage Citadel, or big and brawny like modern versions.
There was an old illustrator that used to do the old when Games Workshop had a Lord of the Rings role-playing game. I used to like it. It was that Angus guy, Angus McBride. He did some cool orcs and stuff. I like that style, so I suppose that's the old style you're on about. Tolkien, tough and wiry with big jaws, Vintage Citadel. And the big sort of snouts and stuff. It's an odd one. Mine would be kind of old hammer, Kev Adams, Machineries of Destruction stuff. I still remember some of the White Dwarfs, with a nice blue background and just loads of really cool Kev Adams stuff. But I did love. It was good. Those were the ones with the more kind of apish kind of faces,
Oh yes.
It did a lot of cool black and white stuff.
Some of those have almost made it into the Ghoul collection for similar.
Yeah, but I do like Brian Nelson's orcs, the big kind of chunky ones. They're really cool as well.
Lewis Collins works from home, but would like to be with more people for feedback and background noise.
Yeah.
Have you considered looking at Lenton Business Park, Lewis? Because you've obviously got at least one client there, and you'd sort of be around that. Because that was what I was looking for. That's why I'm where I am. Geographically, because I was originally going to go join the Lenton posse.
You're secretly thinking, You're secretly thinking of joining the Lenton posse.
That was why I moved directly here, but then I found the place at the other end of town, and actually thought, I didn't want to be around too many other people. I think.
I think
and they come in all the time when I just want to do shit. And
if you work at home as well, if you've got like a relationship, like a partner or whatever as well, it sort of can affect that because you're sat at home all day. They get home and want to have a bit of a breather, but you've been sat on your own. You want to chat, kind of. It puts you on a different kind of schedule. That can be tricky as well.
Or having sort of, I think in self-employment in general, sometimes people don't respect it as well. I don't know what it is. So it's kind of like you've not really been working.
Yeah,
or,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think sometimes if people want to do things in the week, they're like, well, you can just take time off because you're
Yeah.
self-employed.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
but then I'll have to do like a whole other day or stay there till midnight or something.
Yeah.
But I think there's still a bit of a weird it not being real work thing.
Yeah. I've had a bit of that.
Especially
Yeah.
at home, and if you're just in your pajamas, whatever. I always made sure I got dressed, so I wasn't just pajamaing, and that's like a psychological thing as well.
Jogging bottoms. I do those, in the daytime. Generally, I like to be kind of warmish when I'm sculpting, so I've got a few layers on. I've got a little heater by the side of the desk just to warm my fingers and stuff. Well, all the putties, if they're cold, it just takes your fingers. It wears your fingers off, your soft little fingers.
Yeah. You only get one of those. They're awesome.
Yeah, well, I've got my little on-field radio.
I think we will end to one more question because it's been an hour and a half. Oh, Shane Hoyle's just joined. We can't leave now.
All right, Shane. How you doing? Old mate.
Oh, I have to stay now.
It's been weird today, Shane, just driving down past Lenton and that. Really kind of weird. Trip down memory lane. Well, it's the same going up and down. There's a few new kind of buildings and that, but yeah, it was weird. I drove in, down the M1 or whatever, through Strelly. Proper trip down memory lane. Very strange, very strange. I ain't been over to Nottingham since I was about 36. I did one thing for Forge World, I think, in my mid-30s, but I more or less left when I was about 32, I think, 32. Where does Shane live? Kicking about in Nottingham or not?
I don't know. He'll kill me if I say. So.
All right. Has he got people after him? Probably.
Put his dress on.
Probably. Yeah. What's he done?
You should. Oh, he's done everything. You should totally go. You should totally hunt Shane down.
Smooth criminal.
I'm waiting for him to post. Although maybe he has. I've got pig down here. I just look like I'm all distracted. Let's just put pig on cam. She's probably gonna wee on me.
If that's not totally weird.
No, I'm just worried now that Shane will mention whatever that thing was.
Icklord or something. Yeah.
And it'd be just something really nasty.
Might be something that I've done.
Unbad Squiddo friendly.
Did he do it or did I do it though?
I don't know. It was just the word Icklord.
Sounds bad.
Maybe you'll hide.
Happy times.
Sit and wait for a wild Shane to appear.
Atlanta. Very good. Those were the days.
Cubbin's got a good question. The rise of Kickstarter and social media seems to have made it easier for small businesses in the hobby to start up, but often they're 1 or 2 people operations. Is there a market for small business to form co-ops to deal with admin and such? And there's a few people who've been talking about that for a while.
That one's for you, isn't it? I don't know anything about any of this. So.
Kind of. I'm always a bit wary about it because you can kind of get tangled up in other people's crap a bit. I like having my own independent thing, but I do. Well, I said about Lady Cat. There being other people around,
so you can get advice from them and stuff.
Yeah, but we're around and just sort of naturally supporting each other rather than in a planned way. Yeah. When I was in Cardiff, I was sharing. I think that's another reason why Cubbins probably mentioned it because he used to come visit my office quite a bit in Cardiff. So there was me, Great Escape Games, Firestorm Games, and Model Display Products, all in the same building, and that was a similar sort of feel. So when I moved here by myself, it was a bit like there's no one around. Yeah. So even though it's just me, there was the other companies, and it was almost like that sort of general, almost like having workmates, even though they're not. Yeah. So that's kind of nice. But yeah, there's Ian at Fenris has mentioned it quite a lot, having a co-op type thing, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm antisocial.
I think probably a lot of people who work in this industry, sculptors and so on, there's a bit of an antisocial thing going on where, and especially if you worked at Games Workshop, you don't want to, you just want to hide in a hole. Well, I did for 20 years, and I only just emerged.
Your cocoon. Yeah. I think there's definitely some sort of room for that. Just me personally, I'm always a bit skeptical about things.
Cynical.
I like what we were saying about the stand at Salute where people will sort of pitch in. Yeah, I think especially small companies where you're the sculptor as well.
To absorb some of the costs and so you can watch each other's stuff, if you've got the bulk or whatever.
Yeah. So rather than companies like me where I hire the sculptors and stuff, just the companies where it is you sculpting and doing everything. I think those sort of solo sculptor jobbies should hang out.
But you don't want to be on a stand with somebody that's too good, so I probably will not have on with that Lewis Collins guy because his stuff's a bit too good.
Take him out.
Yeah, and get him
Take
down
him
the road.
out.
Put him down the back of the.
We could lure him with old Warhammer celebrities and say they're in an alley, and then the sack of bricks.
Yeah, it's just bad. Like they need a better model. That would really ruin my day.
Oh, I'm sad Shane's not posted anything yet. We're staying just for you, Shane. If Mario and Luigi are the Mario brothers, is Mario's full name Mario? It is Paul.
I used to like a little bit of Mario.
Oh, Lewis is off. Thanks for the stream. Can't wait to grab a sculpt ball. Get ready to sleep. Yes, I'll see you at sleep, Lewis. Are you wandering or trading? But come wander over because we've got extra large balloons this year. They're like this big. With helium.
Expensive.
Well, I am a millionaire. So I sold a pig to.
If you grab one, could you float off?
Probably. I thought about getting those banners and hanging them between the balloons, but then they might get twisted and.
You could notch it up a level and have somebody with a sandwich board hoisted up by a balloon, sort of hovering over. You know what I mean? Go this way, bad squid.
I do get a bit fancier each year. There might be something fancy.
Sure, they got underwear on.
Yes.
Oh, those figures are really good. If you're still here, yeah, I really like those figures. Lewis Collins, really good.
I don't know if he's still here. Don't know who's still here. How do I tell? John Haynes, what do you think of the recent news? We're not going to answer that one. It's just not.
All right, yeah.
I think it's kind of because it's a legal thing. We probably shouldn't get involved in that.
Sounds a bit weird to me, but whatever.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. But
it's quite hard coming up with new names for stuff. Obviously, you can play off like kind of familiarity. Something sounds like something, but it's quite hard coming because a lot of good names have been sort of taken. There's only so many options, isn't there? War games related or kind of battle related or this and that.
Yeah, so. I think having something weird actually helps. Because some companies, because it's not going to get confused for anything. There's quite a few companies that say their company name is what they do. I just think that's a Google nightmare. If you're display bases or whatever, you Google display bases and it's having that search engine. There's all that stuff to bear in mind that I guess in the past you wouldn't have.
Yeah, you want something kind of distinctive that lodges in people's heads. That's,
even if they all spell it wrong, they all spell squid. Everyone thinks Squiddo is Squidoo, like you.
I thought it was Squidoo, so I was like, why is she pronouncing it wrong?
Well, actually, Annie, I think you'll find
That's that a bit of a mansplaining for you. Don't look at the spelling. It's 2 D's and 1 O, but I think I read it as I'd imagined it was 2 O's. Squidoo.
I'll allow it.
It's all right.
But yeah, I think we should probably avoid that particular topic. We got.
It's good fun thinking up a company name.
Oh, Trish Garden's joined now. Look, we can't leave. People
hey,
joining.
Trish, how you doing?
It's like everyone we were talking about earlier has appeared.
Help! It's got me here.
Lewis is gonna be. Oh yes, I'll totally have my squid fingers with me. You haven't seen the squid fingers yet.
I've heard about them.
Yeah, they're good for grooming the pigs because they get terrified because they don't know what's going on.
Just like Greg Thulhu coming down like an elder god.
And you know that they're quite skitty anyway.
There's little guinea pigs in the corner, Trish. You probably like that.
I know, Trish, you've come just as I put the guinea pigs away. Oh, Moogle's in. Okay, we're going to pan back again just for Trish. And we were going to go and everything, and then. So that's Pigland over there. There's Moogle in a little house. Oh, Gregor's, look. He's looking up.
He's out, he's angry. He's agitated.
Look at him eating into the sky.
He knows what you're talking about.
So, yeah, that's where all the pigs live.
If that hasn't made you night.
Exactly. And the Moogle in the corner. Moogle in the corner is amazing. I don't know where Karen's gone.
I even got to hold one. I got to put it out in the garden. Very enjoyable.
And bring it back in as well.
I feel much better. I feel much more relaxed.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be good for you.
You can see Hamling over there. Oh no, there's more crap. Oh, there's not. There's Hamling over there. I should just put it on Pig Vision, I think.
Yeah. Calling it a night. Thank you for joining.
Let's just check. What have we got? Oh, Trish, bring them back. Poor guineas, the McNuggets of the world.
I should be in a onesie or something, if that's what people go for these days. I'd be a little.
We're going to go very shortly, so if you have any last minute questions and things like that, pop them in now.
I've dressed up as a little teddy bear or something. I think that'd be good.
Oh yeah. That'll be my. It's already hard enough convincing people to come on my little show.
Teddy book spin or
We're
something.
making them wear teddy bears.
You should, yeah, you should make them wear stuff. Make it more humiliating.
You say this at the end, Mars.
For them, for the
next
ones,
guys.
yeah,
Yeah, everyone's scared of coming on my show. But if you had a pleasurable time.
Yeah, it's been good fun.
Yeah.
I got to see Trish.
Yeah.
Sort of virtually, you know.
Yeah, and Shane, even though he's lurking.
Yeah, I don't know why can't we see them at the other end? That'd be good. Yeah. Why don't they all turn their little cameras on? Yeah,
you can do that.
Oh,
yeah, you can do it on Google, but they'd have to be up for
Everyone's
it.
lounging about in the boxer shorts and nighties
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, that'd be pretty good. Might pick up some good nightwear ideas. You know,
Kids,
that'd be good.
yeah, sculpting tips
Yeah.
for lounge.
Anatomy lessons and stuff. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Say I'm doing a figure in this pose. I need somebody to stand up and toss the sword up into the air or something. You know, do you mind? Would you mind? You know?
That'd be good. Live sculpting reference.
Yeah.
Trish says, "Does Paul have a guinea pig outfit?"
No, I don't have anything. I've got nothing remotely guinea pig. I'm sorry, Trish. I'm
I'm equally disappointed. We might pitch together and get you one.
That's like that's a lion's den thing. It's a dragon's den. That's a dragon's den. That is like I've got this idea for
The sculptors
guinea
to wear
pig
guinea
onesies
pigs.
and stuff. You know,
When I've got my Games Workshop, because I'm over there, I fantasize about it quite a bit each time I go in with the like the gold dude and all that. The gold dude. The Sigma Spala and all the stuff. I think, it'd be cool if I had like a giant Squiddo and have Squiddo Land. But now everyone who works there is going to have guinea pig outfits. And when they go public facing, they have to scuttle.
If you get a big company like Games Workshop, rather than making all wear little red shirts, polo shirts, or black shirts, you can make everybody wear a guinea pig outfit.
Welcome to Squiddo World.
Yeah, welcome to Squiddo World. when the FedEx guy arrives, he'll be like, "What the?" Look, everybody's feeding each other little bits of carrot.
Everyone eats off this big central dish.
Yeah, and that's all. That's all that's available at the canteen. Salad.
That's the way forward.
Sounds like a plan.
Oh, Trish is disappointed. That's the worst.
I can't see anything remotely like a furry kind of blanket that I can just. I can't even approximate it for you.
Can't even knock one out. Oh no, mate. Is there anything else you'd like to add? We're on for 1 minute, 1 hour 40.
Thanks for
Bye,
tuning in.
Trish. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, bye, Trish. Good to see you.
Cool. You've enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, big good fun.
And you get to
Some
finish your beer
good
now,
questions, you know.
yes.
I got to meet that Lewis Collins
Yeah,
guy, sort of.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's a cool guy, you know. I'll chop his fingers off. And that John Robertson as well.
Yeah.
But, a few sculptors, actually, you know. I'm going to
Go ahead and go after.
toffee hammer, finger by finger. One of those Cuban cigar cutters.
It's still on, you know.
Oh, right, whatever. Yeah.
Right, let's go. Thanks everyone for
thank you.
coming. Thanks for the questions and all that shenanigans. And I hope you enjoyed the pigs. And anyone that's watching it after it's live, also thanks for watching. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.